Hi, this is Corey Shepard, your Greater San Diego Association of Realtors 2016 President. Welcome to the November edition of The Scoop. Today we're hosting our show after the MLS Outlook event at the Hilton San Diego Resort and Spa. I'll be interviewing one of our speakers from the event. As you may know, NSDCAR and PSAR have recently filed a lawsuit regarding the regional MLS. The lawsuit calls for dissolving Sandicorp, San Diego's regional MLS, which threatens the existing MLS and could force San Diego realtors to join a different MLS system. I've invited Victor Lund of the Wave Group on today's show to speak to our audience about options regarding the MLS. Mr. Lund is a consultant on MLS operational effectiveness and strategic planning. Victor, SDAR recently conducted a poll, and when our members were asked how many of their clients are interested in buying or selling properties outside of San Diego County, 81.6% say that they had little to no client interest out of the county. And of that, 62% said there was no interest at all. Leaving only 7% of our members saying that they have clients interested in buying or selling outside of San Diego County. So that begs the question, assuming that we were all to achieve a goal of having each other's MLS data shared statewide, what effect do you think this would realistically have on agents practicing outside of their local area of expertise?
Yeah, I mean, it's a conundrum really, because the way that real estate is organized is by the state. You know, our forums are mostly organized by the state. Of course, real estate agents are very familiar with local area disclosures, and when you're marketing, working with a buyer or seller outside of that area, your familiarity with those local area disclosures would require some education. So yeah, the results don't surprise me much, because SDAR is mostly, the southwestern part of this county. There's really no overlapping market disorder. The boundaries are Camp Pendleton to your north. Right. You have a desert over there. You have Mexico to your south.
And so our beautiful ocean.
Yeah. So you don't really have a lot of agents who are putting their listings into multiple MLSs. In the San Francisco Bay Area, that's profoundly a problem. So for whatever reason, everyone who's selling a home in San Francisco believes that the buyer's coming from Marin, so they ask their agent to put the listing in Marin. Or the buyer's coming from the East Bay, so you have to put it in that MLS. Or the buyer's coming from San Jose. So most of the properties that are listed in San Francisco, the agent has to go put it in 4 MLSs. It's crazy. They have to be a member of all 4 of those MLSs. They have to pay for all 4 of those MLSs. They have to learn the rules and regulations of all those 4 of those MLSs. So that type of overlapping market disorder is very, very difficult to operate in as a broker or an agent. But here in San Diego, you really don't have a whole lot of that.
Your answer leads to the next question that will help clarify that. So what's the difference between creating large geographic areas of data through data share agreements versus forced MLS mergers?
Yeah, I mean, MLSs should merge when it makes sense for the business. You're operating at a scale here in San Diego. You provide excellent services for very reasonable prices that are competitive with any other service provider in the state of California that's operating at your scale. When you're smaller than 5,000 agents, it becomes much more costly to operate a full-service MLS. So you have to cut somewhere. Usually the places that get cut tend to be in training and support, because the software systems don't have a lot of price elasticity. So you don't really gain a whole lot in your negotiating with the software vendor to shave a whole bunch of money off the price of the MLS system just because you're big. It's really the support and service that makes a difference.
Sure, and for that situation you mentioned where in San Francisco they might have to belong to 4 MLSs without a data share agreement, which would currently be the same here, with a data share agreement, which we've been very in favor of, wouldn't that then in that situation where your information would flow everywhere where you had a data agreement and their data would flow back into San Diego County?
Sure. That would, the nice thing about data sharing is that you copy all the data into your home system. So if you are working with a client out of area and you want to do some research for them, you're able to look in your own system. So you'd look in Paragon and you'd be able to see the data, for the Los Angeles marketplace as an example. Right. You wouldn't have to go log into a different system, learn a new system. It'd be in your home system, which really makes the ability to discover information about properties outside of the area much more efficient.
So what are some of the challenges in creating data share agreements? That's one part of the question. And what are some of the challenges for MLS subscribers who sometimes are forced to go through a consolidation? They end up encountering things that they didn't expect when they started down that road.
Yeah, we see that. I mean, we see that quite a bit. So one of the things that happens in consolidation is frequently somebody will have to change systems. And that's never fun. It really doesn't matter whether you're going from a horrible system to a great system. I can guarantee you that member satisfaction goes way, way down. Just the fact that you have to learn something new and get acclimated to it is very disruptive to a real estate agent's business.
Well, we know we're busy and we don't always like or embrace change in that regard. And from the data share perspective, are they hard to accomplish, easy to accomplish? What are the challenges and benefits there?
It's technical. I mean, certainly you're, the beauty or benefit of having your own MLS is that there are certain fields in the MLS which are part of the data standard for the Real Estate Standards Organization, but there are additional types of data and fields that are important in your marketplace, along with those business rules that are important in your marketplace, that you kind of lose a little control over. So when you're trying to map disparate data sets, a lot of it goes together very nicely, and then there's some of it which is kind of troublesome. You're also dealing with enormous amounts of data. So if you've ever updated the apps on your iPhone, it's like, oh, you're now updating 77 apps. That is light lifting compared to trying to update and synchronize 7 or 8 million listings that may go back 10 years or more than that. So you do have to have quite a bit of competency and skill to data share effectively because you're synchronizing these massive databases. But in today's world of technology, it's really skilled but not challenging.
And I think at the end of the day, everybody would agree that real estate is always local. So what's important to us in San Diego may not be important in Los Angeles or Santa Barbara or Sacramento and vice versa.
Well, I think there's an identity issue that you have to kind of wrap your head around a little bit too. We certainly recognize that the identity of the agents who are members of the MLS is very important to them. So
absolutely. So Victor, you consult all over the country. What are the threats and opportunities you see in environments like this?
Man, I think the biggest opportunity right now is off-market data. So we've recognized that just by evaluating the Zillow Group and other companies that there is a ton of information to be gleaned from properties that are not listed. So we have an inventory of 5 to 7 million listings of active listing data. The rest of that inventory is off-market data, and there's a tremendous amount of opportunity with that data. So we see people kind of focusing in on that a little bit more, trying to get, the upstream, if you will, of what's happening with the buyer or seller today, to learn more about off-market property data and to be able to disclose that to the consumer ahead of any decision making to list their home or to buy a home.
Where do we go from here?
Well, it's interesting. I am always fascinated by the way you find evolution in our industry, both at the association level, the MLS level, the brokerage level. We're seeing this enormous voice of the brokerage over the last 3 to 4 years, which we really didn't hear from prior to that. And I'm not exactly sure what caused it, but brokers are taking a much more active participatory stance in what's happening with their MLS and what's happening with their data. They're really understanding that it's their fiduciary to manage that information, and they're looking for new opportunities on how to monetize that data. So I think the role of the MLS and the association is to make sure that the brokers have that liberty and maintain that liberty.
I think that perfectly sums up SDAR's position on that. So Victor, thank you so much for sharing with us today about the MLS Outlook, and I'd also like to thank our viewers. To learn more about the MLS discussion, please subscribe to the MLS Outlook at www.sdar.com /MLS Outlook. I'm Corey Shepard, and this has been The Scoop.